The main issues that we're working with is about getting girls into school, and that's possibly where the differences start to arise, because obviously in UK schools there's pretty much equality between boys and girls. In Tanzania schools, that's very much not the case, especially in the rural communities and the pastoralist communities where we predominantly work. Girls have far fewer educational opportunities than boys. There's a lot of barriers they've got to overcome. Much of it around sort of community attitudes towards education. It's just not considered important to educate girls, or as important as it is boys. Many of the communities we work with are Maasai communities, and it's pretty common for sort of once girls reach the age of 12, 13, parents start to think about sort of marrying them off, and then the next step is obviously pregnancy and looking after having a family. So it's not considered important to educate girls. So that's kind of one of the big barriers. There is a Tanzanian, I think it's Maasai, but certainly Tanzanian proverb that if you educate a woman, you educate the whole family. The reasoning around that is that women have more of a sort of a more in-depth and bigger role in terms of sort of bringing up the children, particularly perhaps in pastoralist communities where the fathers spend quite a lot of time away from the home. So if you have an educated mother, you're more likely to have educated children. She's also more likely to understand the importance of having an education and going to school, and therefore more likely to support and send her own children to school as well. There is also the issue where, again, very much in sort of the rural communities, it's girls have much more domestic chores responsibilities than boys have. And that can often be an issue. Boys have far more time to spend on schoolwork and homework than girls do, because girls have to go off and collect firewood, collect water. They've got sort of care responsibilities to younger siblings, whereas boys don't have that. If you have an educated mother who understands the importance of it all, then perhaps she's more likely as well to sort of reduce some of the burden and encourage and support her daughter to spend more time on schoolwork. I mean, on average, girls, well, and boys for that matter, walk sort of about 10 kilometres to get to school there and back. So it's just not feasible for them to be walking to and from school. And the walks are very, very dangerous to get to school. Girls are often subjected to quite horrendous sort of physical and sexual abuse on the walks. So then girls will end up living in what's called ghettos. No security, no water, no sanitation, sort of very, very, very basic accommodation within the local villages. I mean, we've had stories of girls having to sort of sleep in half-an-hour shifts just so they can keep an eye out as who's outside and sort of protect each other. And I mean, obviously it's impossible to focus on schoolwork if you're kind of getting 20-30 minutes uninterrupted sleep and then awake for your shift of watch and then back to sleep. It's just not going to happen for them. So sort of part of the project is building girls' hostels and dormitories so that there's a safe place that girls can stay. It's really important on a number of issues. By having the dormitories there, it breaks down so many of the barriers that girls face in going to school. Also, in a lot of the dormitories, there are matrons to help take care of the children. Very often they have cooks as well. So when they get back from school, they're not having to spend sort of hours cooking the rice and cooking meals for them. It's done so they can spend much more time concentrating on their schoolwork. They've also, many of the dormitories, although schools don't have electricity, many of them do have solar panels. So there is some form of electricity, or there's solar panels in the classrooms. So in the evening, girls have got somewhere to go and concentrate on schoolwork and do a little bit of extra schoolwork. It also means that if they're in the dormitories, they haven't got their parents asking them to go and collect water, firewood, take care of siblings. So again, they've got much more time to just concentrate on their schoolwork. Having spoken to a lot of the girls in the hostels as well, they really value having the support of their sort of fellow students around them. And there was one story where I think maybe about 20% of the girls in Form 4 had moved into the dormitory. Their exam results in the midterm exams were amazing. They were just dramatically better. And following on from that, all of the girls in Form 4 then moved into the dormitories. So I mean that was sort of less than a year after moving into the dormitory. So they really do show some very quick and very, very dramatic results. At the moment, we've just started a new project in primary school education as well, and getting girls into primary school. So we're sort of crossing the whole the whole spectrum of education in Tanzania, because obviously if you're improving education standards in secondary school, you kind of need more girls to come up and follow it through. And the idea as well is to sort of give them the support that when they move into secondary school they have the skills to be able to perform well once they get there. So it's kind of more expanding the whole programme to cover the whole spectrum of the education sort of system.